In the 30 years that, it's a long time, isn't it? 30 years when I say it, my goodness. In the 30 years that I've been working with those challenged by cancer, I've also been doing research, looking at those, again, challenged by cancer who have survived and who are thriving, like so many of you here today. What my patients have taught me and what I have learned really reinforces the fact that healing is more about dealing with the needs of mind, body, and spirit. It's not one alone. You need to address the whole package. And for me, that's approaching healing from the inside, and I call my book an inside job. So many times, cancer patients, and I'm so sorry, I don't mean to say cancer patients because I don't like to think of us that way. I've been there. So many times, those of us with cancer will have reoccurrences. And many of my patients over the years have come to me and said, I just don't understand. I've been doing the newest therapy, I've had surgeries, I'm doing the best medications that are out there. What's the matter? Why am I continuing to get this? And what's missing is the Eastern wisdom's approach to healing, which is look at the whole thing here. That you have a lot that you might be looking at and thinking about and managing differently because it is about mind, body, and spirit. So, I want to share with you the stories very briefly in the time that we have of 3 individuals. They're actually here today. And their journey and the wisdom that got them through their journey, because I feel that their wisdom really matches up with the wisdom of those who have had cancer in the research and who have survived and thrived. And they figured a lot of this out on their own without my book. They knew intuitively what they needed to do, and I'm hoping you can take away some of their wisdom with you. And we'll look at the big package of everybody when we're all done. So the first person I want to talk about is Cindy. Cindy was 49 when she did not feel very well. She hadn't gotten her period. She knew something was off, and suddenly she was bleeding profusely. She knew she needed to go to the doctor. She couldn't because she needed to get her girls off to college. She had spent her life caring for everybody else and making their needs first. That's what so many of us do. But she did get to the doctor after her girls went off, and she was told she needed a biopsy. She had the biopsy, and she learned that she needed to have a hysterectomy. But she couldn't have that hysterectomy right away when it was scheduled because her husband took his life. Her husband left her penniless, no home, no money, nothing. She needed to make his funeral. She brought her girls home, they had the funeral, and then she went and had her surgery. Following surgery, she also needed radiation. And this was all very difficult for her because she had no support other than her sister with whom she recuperated. She got through it. And this was in around August, September of 2012. In 2013, in the fall, when she was going to sign something for the FedEx person, suddenly she couldn't write. And the words wouldn't come. She couldn't speak. So she got herself off to the doctors. And the doctor, first when she went, they said you have a bleed in the brain. And she stayed overnight, and the next morning the doctor said, let's talk about your brain cancer. And she was stunned. She had no idea. She had the surgery, and she was left with some deficits on her right side. And some in the brain. She'll talk about a loss of some brain power. However, she said to me, she said, but it didn't take away my will to live. I have to be here for my girls and my son. I want to see them graduate. I want to see them get married. I have to live. So Within a month, just a month, she found that she wasn't well again. She went back to the doctors. She was actually walking into walls. She went back and she was told she had a tumor on her cerebellum. Okay? But she learned more than that. She learned that she was supposed to have had radiation and that it, quote, fell through the cracks. So she never had a radiation. She has a tumor now. So, and by the way, I want to just say, when she had cancer the first time she had her surgery, she was told she had uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, and an undetermined cancer. That was before she knew she had the brain cancer. So she went and she had the second surgery, and second brain surgery. This was somewhat difficult because she had it followed by radiation to the brain, and those of you who've had this know how hard that can be, how challenging. She got through it. She did get through it, but it was difficult. And when she went to the neurorehab center, the doctor had said to her, "You have 18 months to live," and this blew her away. She was upset, justifiably. She called another doctor that she knew. The doctor came and basically said, "Don't pay attention to what you've just heard. Do your thing, live your life." And she did, and she said to me, "I'm cancer-free now." She does have to have infusions for iron because one of the surgeries had damaged her ability to absorb iron. But she's here. And she said, "Please tell everybody, I love life. I get up in the morning." I get up in the morning, and she said, "I'm so filled with gratitude. I'm so aware of all my blessings." She said, "I see cancer as a bump in the road, just something you have to go through." And then she said, "Be sure to let everybody know, you must never give up. You must always have hope. And you need to fight. You need to fight. Be your own advocate," she said. And finally she said, "Just take it one day at a time." She is an amazing inspiration in our group of women, in our gynae girls. I'm so sorry about this. In our gynae girls. And the women look to her because she's a role model of strength and perseverance and guts. When she doesn't hear from the doctor, she just goes and puts herself in the doctor's office, and they may say to her, "There's no appointment," and she says, "I don't care, I'm here to see the doctor." She always gets what she wants. She's an extraordinary role model of determination, courage, and perseverance. So let's talk about Peggy. Peggy, like Cindy, put everybody else first. She took care of her son, who was very ill. But she's an amazing woman. This was in, I believe, 2011, and she knew she wasn't feeling well. She'd been a realtor, very successful. She was a widow. She lived independently. She was a happy camper, but she didn't feel well. She went to her gynecologist. She said, "I needed to get a hysterectomy." She got a hysterectomy, and it didn't solve the problem. She did learn that she had a form of vaginal cancer. Okay? Then she had to have 2 more minor surgeries. They didn't help her either. And she was in pain. Can you imagine? She couldn't sit, she couldn't walk. I mean, my heart goes out to you, all of you, who are in discomfort and pain, and you just want something to help you. So finally, she had radiation. But radiation burned the inside of her vagina. So that made it worse. She was really in pain now. Ultimately, she had plastic surgery. And with plastic surgery, she finally began to feel better. And she said, "I'm back. I'm finally back." And I remember when I went to see her in the hospital, she was adorable, she was funny, she was positive and upbeat. That's really who she is. So I asked her, "So what got you through this?" First thing she said, and it's really about perspective for all of you, how you see things. And the first thing she said is, "Well, I looked at my son's situation. He had multiple myeloma." She said, "I watched him and I saw how he suffered." She said, "Compared to him, mine was nothing. So she minimized her situation. And the second thing she said was, "Most of the people in my family are gone." She said, I have my son and I have my grandsons, and I need to be here for them. So I said to she really did. She said to herself, go girl, I just have to go. Go girl, go girl. She said, I know my father is with me because he's my angel. She had an experience during radiation where she experienced her father. She also talked about the power of having faith, talking to God, as well as knowing her dad was with her. She said, this is a spiritual journey for me. And because it is, I choose love. And that is who she is. She said, I give, and I give. And guess what? It comes back to me. I keep receiving. She said, it's so simple. You give and you receive. She also said she is, as just I'm sure Cindy and I know Jean are, aware of her blessing. She takes nothing for granted. But she said something important too. She said, I love my work. I am passionate about my work. And she is. So when you love something, because I encourage my patients to find their passion, when you really love something, you vibrate energetically at such a high level, you produce chemicals in the brain that support your immune system so it can fight the cancer. So, one last thing that Peggy said. She said, I'm not a joiner of clubs. She said, but I'm so glad I joined the Gynae Girls Support Group. She said, because it's such a group of inspirational women. We inspire one another, and that's healing for all of us. So, and now we get to Jean. It's our Jean. In 1997, Jean was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, stage 3. Little did she know at that time that she would have 5 cancers. There would be more to follow. There would be the brain, lung, breast, and skin. But I said to her, I said several things, but she said to me, Susan, the reason these cancers, I got a handle on them, it's the best way to put it. She got a handle on these other cancers she felt because of the way she handled the ovarian cancer. She knew that she had this resiliency to get through the ovarian, and she felt that enabled her to know what she needed to do for each of the others. But additionally, and she wanted you to know this, that every time she had pain or discomfort, she went to the doctors immediately. That's where they found the other cancers each time, or she went for a wellness visit. But it's because she went and paid attention to her body. The others were all stage 1. She was able to have a handle on those very easily. So, what did she teach us, or what does she teach us? The very first thing she said, you must surround yourself with the support of loving family and friends. And I have to emphasize that the family and friends that you choose or that are there for you, make sure they support your vision of healing. You want people who will listen to you and do what brings you joy, rather than people who will pity you and bring you down. You have to be very careful about that. Your body is very wise. It's very sensitive to the energy of those around you. She also said she had a goal. And the goal was, I wasn't going to allow this disease to identify me, to define me. And she said, I know I'm here for more. I made up my mind. She said, no, thank you. I don't have time for this. She said, I needed to live my life doing what I loved, as though there was no diagnosis. I just thought that, I read it to you. It's a quote. To live your life as though there is no diagnosis. I can't emphasize how valuable it is if you can remember to try to do that. She said, I've also known my purpose, and ovarian cancer helped with that. She's been a role model for those with ovarian cancer and other kinds of cancer. She said, if I could get through ovarian cancer, I can role model and be an inspiration for the other women who are dealing with this. She loves what she does. And additionally, she loves to help children. She's involved with the Toastmasters program. So believe me, she really lives her life meaningfully, fully, as though she doesn't have a diagnosis. She said, listen to your body, just as I said a few minutes ago. But she also wanted you to know this. Depression, feeling angry, feeling sad, feeling scared, especially scared, it's normal. All of us go through that when we're given. I think, I'm sorry, every once in a while, I pick it up and I feel it. When you're given that diagnosis, and I was given a diagnosis too, you just, initially you might be in shock and you go on automatic, but at some point it kicks in, you know that. And you start to have those doubts and the fears and all of that. And you have to be very careful. You want to allow yourself to feel it enough, but then you have to say, that's enough. I tell my patients, put a stop sign up and just say, stop it, and get ready to move on. And she would say to herself, I have too much to do. I have too many people depending on me. I have to get going. I have to move on. That's what she says, and that's what she does. She also said, trust your intuition, something I advocate to my patients, because around the 5-year mark, her doctor thought that she was having, she had cancer of the colon and wanted to remove her colon. Her gut said, no, doesn't feel right to me. You know, diagnostically, there was nothing to validate it, and the other doctors she consulted with said no too, and she let it go. Like Peggy, she said, my faith and the prayers that I ask people to offer on my behalf, she said, I talk to angels, I talk to God. I know all of this has gotten me through this so that I can be where I am today. One last thing. She said, don't forget your caretakers. She said, you know, the normalcy of this is that they're going to feel helpless. They're going to feel guilty. She said, acknowledge them, thank them, let them know you know how they feel and that it's normal. She said, just express your gratitude. So we have these 3 examples that I offer you, and honestly, I wish I could have shared the stories of so many of you in this room, because I know I would have a similar kind of feedback. So what did we learn? We learned first, and I don't know if you noticed it, but each of these women was determined not to allow this diagnosis to stop them in their tracks, not to become the cancer, not to let it become their identity. They knew they wanted to be here to live their life's purpose, which takes us to the second thing that we can take away. These women had an awareness of their sense of why they're here, what they needed to do. Cindy knew it was in part for her family. Peggy knew that it was in part to give love, to receive love, as well as to be here for her family. She knows she's a role model for everybody. Each of you in this room has a sense at this point, and I know some of you are saying, no, I don't, but if you do the work, you can peel away a lot of layers and get down deep. There is, at a deeper level, an awareness for you of why you're here. What brings you joy? What is your passion? That's so important. So she said also that for the first time, and I'm sorry, I don't mean she, for the first time, this group now we're talking about, these 3 women, who I think represent you, these 3 women, for the first time ever, made themselves a priority. Before that, everybody else was the priority. Everybody. But now they chose unconditional love for themselves first. It was like, I have to take care of me. If I don't, I can't be here for anybody else. And they did that. And you know, they always did it positively. So the next thing I noticed is that they each took responsibility for their lives. They didn't depend on their family or their doctors. They did to an extent when they would go see their doctors, but ultimately they listened to that inner wisdom and they did take responsibility. And they always did it positively. They did it without anger. They did it without negativity. You know, those of you who know these women know that to be a truth. So these women chose, if you will, to let go of the past. By that I mean they knew they needed to be in this moment, And they needed to let go of anything in the past, anything that they were angry about, or people that they were upset with, or if they felt guilty about somebody. We all carry these. But you see, the way healing works, you need to cut off that part of the journey and stay focused only on the moment and what brings you joy, to be open and let the universe, or whatever it is that you feel, bring you what will make you smile, feel good. Because when you do that, the way the brain works, when your thoughts are energy, and so every time you think about something that makes you feel good, you're actually going to release in the brain endorphins and other wonderful chemicals. Those chemicals are going to bolster your immune system so that you can have the cells needed to actually fight and eliminate the cancer and other viruses as well. So, they chose a feel-good perspective. I really recommend this. They could have chosen to connect and attach to their fears, but they didn't. They chose love. Love of self. Love of the people that they were with. Love of whatever they were engaged in life. They chose love. So I want to talk to you about the Chinese for a moment. The Chinese have one symbol for two words. They have a symbol for crisis and a symbol for opportunity. And they understand that in every moment you get to choose how you're going to view your situation. It's very powerful what they have. And so this is perspective, and perspective determines your quality of life. So if you choose to see an experience, such as cancer, as a teacher for you, a teacher of lessons, then you're actually choosing to see a crisis as something that can empower you, that can fill your life with joy, that can help you grow. You choose life. And when you do this, when you choose a wonderful perspective, you're actually affirming to your body you have 50 to 60 trillion cells. And these cells are listening and waiting for you to give them something that will bolster them to take care of you. So when you affirm a simple affirmation, I am healing. I am determined to be here for joy. I am here for my family. I am here because I have work to do. These are the affirmations that send wonderful chemicals your brain makes to the immune system to care for you. And these help you in your journey. And that's why when I was asked, did I have something to provide for the gift bag, I really thought the little book I wrote years ago on affirmations, I never understood the value of affirmations 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but I do now. Your thoughts are energy. Choose an affirmation is positive. It's all good. So now, let's just do a quick synopsis here. When you're ill, you're out of balance. The definition of healing, from my perspective, healing is the restoration of peace, balance, most of all balance, harmony, and feeling whole and complete. Just think about how you feel when you're stressed. You're not feeling balanced. You're not feeling great. But when that peace comes over you, because you're thinking about something delicious, like something like the time you made love, or the time you held your baby, or the time you hold a puppy or a kitten, these are all releasing in the mind and the brain endorphins, which take care and help your immune system take care of you. So really, how do we achieve balance? We think of something wonderful. We choose love. We let go of what we don't need now, the past. We choose to be fully in the moment. We do what we love. And so finally, I want to encourage you to remember that you get to choose how you're going to see the situation that you're each in right now. You're going to get to choose whether or not to see it as a crisis or as an opportunity to learn lessons that will awaken you and help you feel wonderful. The choice is yours. So from my heart, I thank all of you for the privilege of being able to speak with you today, to be with you today. I am honored to be here, and I thank you, Jean, for asking me. And I wish each of you, I will keep you in my prayers. I research prayer. I believe in power prayer. And so I will keep you in my prayers and pray that each of you has healing and peace. So I thank you. Thank you.